Welcome to the Happy, Healthy Life Podcast with your hosts, Rob and Randy, who reveal the truth, the lies, and confusion about health so that you are no longer the victim to mainstream medical dogma and you are the hero to your own happy, healthy story.
Hello and welcome back to the Happy Healthy Life Podcast with your host, Rob and
Randy.
And we are
the Happy Healthy Guys.
Yes, we are. Have you ever felt like you are doing everything right? You're eating clean, you're counting the calories, you're hitting the gym, yet the scale won't budge. You are stuck and you are frustrated.
Yeah, if that's you, today's episode is going to set you free because it's not your fault. That's right, I said it. Maybe it's not your fault. Maybe something else is going on. The real problem is actually not your diet, not your workout, not your willpower. Maybe it's your metabolism. And we're going to show you how to fix that.
Yeah, and I think that's important because the more people that we talk to, we were just in Los Angeles this past weekend, and we were in a room with a lot of really intelligent people.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, intelligent people, and first of all, let's talk about what it is that we were even doing in Los Angeles. Let's talk about that. I think we gloss over that and take that for granted.
Well, yeah, we've been teasing it some, and in full transparency, we've recorded a lot of content with people over the years, and there's people that have said, hey, we're going to do this documentary, we're going to feature you here, and some of that never really pans out. This one actually did. We were actually at a pre-screening of the documentary, Your Second 50. Now I'm thinking, how would we be picked for that since I'm only 28 years old? I don't know why they picked us, but
Fair question.
Anyway, barely above 50. That really is the new flex. It really is the ultimate flex. It's not getting to 50. How about the next 50, your second 50? So we were there for the pre-screening, and I thought it was pretty remarkable. There was a lot of good pieces to this documentary, and I'm glad we were able to be a part of it because the piece that we brought to it, not only with our story, but how we really connected the metabolic dots and pieced it together with that really being your longevity play. I think it's awesome. So I'm super pumped. What an honor and a privilege to be there, a part of that group of leaders in the health and wellness field.
Yeah, I'm pumped as well. And the conference that we're at was a conference called Health Span. And it's really interesting because when you are around all of these intelligent people, what we found is how complicated people tend to make health.
That's
when
the
it's
real talk.
Really not that complicated. There were people that were talking about longevity being about all of these different peptides that you can't even pronounce with different numbers and things, and people talking about parasites and testing and all this crazy stuff, when the reality is the majority of people who are out there don't know and don't understand that there's very simple solutions to be able to help you to be able to live your healthiest life past 50 and even before that.
Yeah, I think if you don't know how to ask the right questions, you can end up essentially in this metabolic quagmire, like you're on this hamster wheel and you never fully get off of it because you're looking to take more things and do more strategies versus really laying the foundation. So one of our superpowers, Dr. Rob, is we make metabolism very simple. In fact, really our new catalyzing statement for our company is metabolism made simple because it doesn't have to be hard. And I know if the previous podcast we did before heading out to Los Angeles, we're going to continue that today and dive a little deeper and show you it doesn't have to be hard. You really just have to know the simple steps that are necessary, and it doesn't have to be expensive. You don't need 87 tests. You don't need 47 supplements. You don't need a $100,000 piece of biohacking equipment. You really just need to know what really is metabolism. How do you really change that? Because the reality is your metabolism does not slow down as you get older. You get older and you may notice things aren't the same, but it isn't your age. There really are things you can do. And we've proven that not only with our clients, not only clinically with patients, with our obviously our program now all over the world, but even with ourselves, because in our 50s, yes, that's right. I know everybody thinks we are in our 20s. Newsflash, we are in our 50s. And if you know me, I'm being sarcastic. We obviously are in our 50s. But we've achieved an incredible level of health, and it didn't cost $100,000.
It didn't cost $100,000, and it was really remarkably simple. You just have to understand how to put everything together, and that is one of our superpowers, is to make complicated things really simple. And
Yeah.
anybody that's ever gone through our program and our thin method system understands that it is absolutely simple. I was just looking it up to see where it came from. That statement, God made the simple to confound the wise, and it actually comes from First Corinthians, and it's where Paul's talking in there about how just having simple faith in the things that God's already given us and put inside of us really is the answer, versus the intellect of everybody trying to think that they are going to outsmart and outwit God and all the things that He's already given to us. In last weekend was a really good example of exactly what that looks like. You had people that were standing up in a room to ask questions. For example, one gentleman got up and he was really, looking. I think he was looking for an answer that was way more complicated than the real answer was. And he was asking about. He said, "I have an aunt. I believe it was his aunt who has a form of a cognitive decline.
That's
And I
right.
believe it was Parkinson's.
Yeah, that's what it was.
And so this doctor gives this answer, which was the most complex, complicated answer, and was then also speaking in a way, and she was speaking specifically about stem cells. And when she was talking at the end of the day, what the panel said was, we have no idea if stem cells could help her or not. And that person was just looking for something that was a much more complicated answer to be able to help his aunt, when the reality is, let's get his aunt some real food nutrition. Let's ask, okay, what was the aunt doing even previous to this right
Yeah.
here? Because we also know that, there's some kind of, it goes back to our roots, is just asking, okay, where's the interference?
Yes.
What's interfering her body's God-given innate intelligence from being able to heal?
That's it right there. Dude, that is it in a nutshell. It's stop looking for more healing. You don't need more healing. You've already been healed. So that's the great news. You don't have to worry about it. God made you in perfection. The real thing that we want to teach people, that we do teach people, and a lot of you listening, that's hopefully maybe why one of the reasons why you love us, is the body doesn't need more healing, it needs less interference. But it's so much easier in our mind to outsource that and to ask for, what do I need to take? What's the latest test? What's the expensive piece of technology, versus going, I have to wake up on Monday morning and I need to start making different decisions. But it isn't what you think. It's not about eating perfect, and it's not about exercising more, Dr. Rob. Let's dive into that, because that's how we're going to help people. That's how we do help people. And if you're that person that's listening, you're like, I really have tried everything. This maybe could be the episode that can maybe give you what you need, give you the encouragement, and give you the belief that you're not broken, that you are designed to thrive, and that God made you to heal.
Yeah, so in this first segment, what we really want to talk about is why it is that diets don't work. I remember when we were seeing people in our clinic, and we'd have an audience of 10, 15 people sitting in front of us. And the very first thing that we would say is, we're going to explain to you why this is not a diet program, why it's not an exercise program, and the fact that diets don't work. And people would look at us with the craziest
Like we had three heads.
like we had three heads. So it's not about calories in and calories out, Dr. Randy. And so let's unpack this. Why
Okay.
is it that diets don't work when it comes to losing weight?
Well, honestly, actually, they do work. And then they what?
They don't.
And then they don't, because all diets, and I don't know, how many diets could you get on right now in
Google?
I don't know, thousands, if not more. Yet we're more chronically sick, medicated, overweight, and diseased than we've ever been at any point in recorded history that we're aware of. But so the diet, it does work, but then it doesn't, because obviously diets all have one thing specifically in common. It's all about reducing calories. And if you just think about it from the basic laws of thermodynamics, and not as we were just throwing doctors under the bus for making it complicated, don't freak out. It's basically what they're telling us is, if you eat less calories, if you burn more calories than you eat, then you'll lose weight. So dieting is all about restricting and lowering your calories. And if you've ever done a diet, you know exactly, whether you're cutting out carbs, whether you're cutting out fat, whether you're doing low carb, whether you're doing these macros and counting points, you're literally starving yourself of nutrients. And so if you lower the amount of calories that you consume for an extended period of time, which is what you have to do on a diet. Because if you did it for 6 months to lose 30 pounds, you know for a fact you come off that diet, all that weight is going to come back. That's guaranteed. So if you're doing that and you're lowering it, if you just think about it from the laws of thermodynamics, your metabolism, which controls what you weigh, is going to slow down and it's going to become slow. Because I think I just said the same thing twice. It's going to slow down and it's going to become slow.
It's going to do both. It's going to do both of those things.
It's going to slow down and it's also going to slow down. So both of those things are going to happen. But the point is, think about it. If your metabolism stayed the same or it actually sped up, you would burn through your current caloric load and then you would burn through your stored load, which typically can be, not so much glucose. There is stored glucose, is glycogen, but mostly stored body fat and then burn through your muscle. So your body's always trying to make sure that you're surviving, that you're thriving, you're doing well. It would never speed up in order to burn through the lower calories. So you're not actually making your metabolism faster. That's why when you stop the diet, you slowed it down, and that's why all the weight is going to come back.
Yes, it's metabolic adaptation. That's what your body is always trying to do, is trying to adapt to the environment or adapt to your circumstances. This happens, whenever you walk outside and it's cold outside, for example, your body's going to adapt to the temperature on the outside in order to be able to make sure that all your organ systems are running optimally on the inside. So it's going to change the temperature in order to be able to adapt to it.
You're going to shiver.
So yeah, you're going to shiver. So that's what adaptation is, and/or homeostasis. And so that is always happening inside your body every single second of every single day, which is why exactly that your body's metabolism is going to slow down in order to be able to put you in a state of survival, okay, or hibernation,
Right.
if you will. So let's talk then about how we've got this. We talked about the thin method last week, okay. In just in reviewing of that thin method and what that even means is we've got this technology, which is the T, in order to be able to readjust your body's metabolic thermostat. Speaking of temperature,
right
outside, right? So we want to adjust that, and then within that first T, there's 3 steps, only 3 steps. We're talking about metabolism.
Yeah.
So if your metabolism has slowed down, the first step is to reawaken it, to wake it up.
Yes.
It's kind of like to shake the system and start readjusting that metabolic thermostat. And then step number 2 is going to be to retrain the cells in your body at a metabolic level, okay? So we got to get them now utilizing energy the way it's supposed to be using that energy. Yeah. And we got to train them to be able to do that, the cells in your body. And then last but not least is to reset that metabolic thermostat. We want to readjust the thermostat so it's at a level to where what we call as a metabolic weight set point. Let's say your thermostat, your metabolic weight set point, for myself personally, mine was set at 210 pounds, way too heavy for me. And so I was then able to reset that metabolic thermostat or that weight set point at 155 pounds, which is healthy for me.
Now, hang on. Let's don't just gloss over that. You reset your metabolic thermostat from over 200 pounds to 155. And I've obviously seen that, and you're my best friend. I've been around you for over 20 years. That's remarkable because you just don't struggle anymore. And this is what you used to wake up with every single day of your life, figuring out what you're going to have to try to eat, how much you're going to have to exercise, because it didn't matter what you did. It was a zero-sum game. Yeah. When all the dust settled and all the dieting was over, you would blow right back up over 200 pounds.
Yeah, it felt like I was chronically, and you may feel like this, for the audience, but I felt like from the time I was 13, which is when that was set at 210 pounds, I felt like from the time I was 13 to 38 years old, I was perpetually always on some kind of a diet.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah. In some way, shape, or form, whether it was eating all protein or all fats or caloric restrictions, starving myself, there was some type of thing that I was doing. And you're exactly right. I would wake up every single morning thinking about what I was going to be putting into my body or what I needed to not put into my body because I needed to lose XYZ amount of pounds.
Yeah. So you were stuck in that vicious cycle. And I think for everybody who's listening, and this was really the epiphany was you got to start asking different questions if you're going to get a different result. And the real question is, and we've said this a million times, I think we're going to have to just keep beating this drum is if you are stuck, you're probably asking the wrong question. And here's one of the questions that you might be asking is you're saying, man, how do I lose weight? And it's not a good question at all, because to lose weight in the diet world, in the traditional way we've been taught of calories in, calories out, you are going to have to starve yourself long term. You're going to have to become more unhealthy in order to lose the weight and keep it off, which obviously the goal isn't to be skinny, because skinny people get cancer. Skinny people drop dead of heart attacks. The question you want to start asking yourself is, how do I heal my metabolism? And once we had cracked the code there with our own journey and our own story, had figured this out, that was finally the solution to a real problem that wasn't a calories in, calories out problem. Dr. Rob, it was really a metabolic issue.
It was a metabolic issue. And so that's where the rest of the thin, or the HI and the N, come into play.
Yep.
Because you'll hear people say that in order to heal your metabolism, well, you've got to heal your insulin. Well, that's a correct answer, but it's only a part of the answer, right? If you're going to ask, how do I heal my metabolism? You have to ask yourself, okay, inside my body, what is it that actually controls or determines my body's metabolism? Well, insulin, which is a hormone, that's part of it, but it's only part of the puzzle. What are some other organ systems in the body that have anything to do with our body's metabolism?
Yeah, you don't have an insulin problem. You do have a metabolism problem. So insulin's one of many hormones, and none of them are, and these are metabolic hormones, by the way, not sex hormones, which is the big mistake a lot of people make as they go to their doctors, they go to these specialists, these coaches, and they're getting on sex hormones like TRT and hormone replacement. You're looking at the hormonal profile, but you're doing it in the wrong order. The foundation is the metabolic hormones. Things like insulin, not a villain, very important part of any metabolic strategy, but also insulin. You've got glucagon, you've got leptin, you've got cortisol. And some of these hormones, people may think these are the bad ones, or these have to be high, or these have to be low. It's none of that. It's all about balancing the metabolic environment so these hormones can do what God designed them to do. So there's a whole cascade of hormones in our body. Some we think we know about, some you probably have no idea, because can you really science the human body? I say that you cannot. But yeah, it's about creating an environment where great things are more likely to happen. And it's not hard, it's not expensive, it's not giving you bunches of hormones. It's balancing your current hormonal profile. And it's very easy to do with our thin method, especially with the food sequencing and how we assess someone. It happens so quickly. In fact, we shouldn't say warn, but we let our clients know that, hey, listen, if you've got blood pressure problems, if you've got blood sugar problems, if you've got metabolic syndrome, be responsible here, because those things are going to balance themselves out a lot of times within 5, 7, maybe even 10 days, where you would no longer potentially even need to have to be addicted to taking pills for the rest of your life.
Yeah, so that's the H right there, hormone balancing. You got to balance your hormones. And the I stands for internal cleansing. We got to detox all of the cells. So really that answer of what organ is it that determines your body's metabolism, it's all organs, because all your organs are made up of cells. So you've got about 75 to 80 trillion cells inside your body. We have to make sure that those cells are clean. And the reason we have to make sure that they're clean is because we have to make sure that they're repairing. Your body is repairing these cells on a daily basis. And if there's toxins in the body, it's not going to allow them to be able to work properly. And that right there is going to shut down your metabolism, because metabolism is happening in every single one of those 75 trillion cells. So we've got to detox. One of the most important things to detox from, this is what we always talk about. In fact, we always, when we're traveling, for example, anytime we walk into a restaurant, that's the first thing that we bring up is the fact that, hey, you know what? We want to make sure that you're not using any what?
Seed oil, industrial seed oil. In fact, they ask you at the table, do you have any food allergies? Yes, we do. And it isn't just us, it's everybody with a pulse. We're all allergic to industrial seed oil because, like you were talking about with the cellular health, These clog up your mitochondria, which are the respiration centers of our cells. They help us create energy. They help us detox. They help us create our own structured water inside our body. They create heat. They're a part of the energy centers of our body. And this clogs up the machinery. These seed oils are so nasty. And it's not like you're like, well, guys, is it really that big a deal? I mean, I ate a big thing of French fries, and they marinated my chicken in seed oil. Is it really a big deal? And listen, we don't want to be fragile, but I can tell you that one big deal becomes two big deals, becomes a lifetime of big deals. And the big deal is it doesn't just move out of your body within 24 hours. Some studies would suggest, these type omega-6 fatty acids, the way they're oxidized and broken down in the body, they have a half-life of maybe 600 to 680 days. I don't know about you, and I don't necessarily have the math in front of me. I don't know that I want a chemical poison clogging up my mitochondria, destroying my body's metabolism, sitting in my body for 2, 3, and 4 years before I have the ability to get rid of it. And that's only if you didn't eat any more ever again, and it is pervasive. So yeah, for sure, that is a part of the Thin method. We have developed, in fact, it's the world's only protocol that I'm aware of that safely sets up an environment to remove stored linoleic acid industrial seed oil from the tissue in a safe way. That way your body can now upregulate its metabolic profile. All I'm saying is when you remove seed oil, it is a fact you're going to burn more calories at rest, so your thermogenesis goes up and your body's ability to create new energy is enhanced. We always give the example, it's like, a bear that would go into hibernation. Before they do that, they're eating lots of cold water fish and lots of foraging, lots of nuts and seeds, things that are high in polyunsaturated fatty acids, these PUFA, and they eat tons of that before they go into hibernation to what you talked about earlier, go into torpor, which is a metabolic state where your metabolism shuts down, because you can imagine if you're in hibernation, you don't want to have a high metabolism. But that's what we're doing to our bodies every single day. And these seed oils, the way they operate and the way they accumulate in our body, not only do they make us more hungry, they shut down our metabolism. You have to get rid of it. And that's part of our method.
Hey there. Thank you so much for listening to the Happy Healthy Life podcast. We appreciate it. Now, if you're somebody who's curious about your metabolism, how you're doing with your metabolism, go to metabolismscore.com, take the quiz, find out where you're at.
Hey guys, thank you so much for listening to the Happy Healthy Life podcast. And, we don't make a lot of products, but the products we do make are all metabolically focused. So go check these out. Go to thehappyhealthylife.com. And when you get to checkout, use code podcast to save 10% off any and all of our metabolic friendly products.
Yeah, and that right there is exactly why as you get older, it gets harder to lose the weight. It has nothing to do with how
age
old you are.
I know.
It's because you've been doing this over a long period of time. So we got to reverse that. And then last but not least, the N in Thin stands for Nu-Q technology. That's real food nutrition. We just have a technology based on our assessment to find out exactly what nutrients your body needs in order to be able to get these cells doing what they're supposed to be doing when it comes to healing your metabolism.
Yeah, just like you want to walk around with emotional intelligence, Nu-Q is nutritional intelligence. And we do have a sequence of, the right foods, the right times, how to prepare them, which ones work for you. That way it takes all the guesswork out. And it's not about cutting calories. It's about giving your body tons of bioavailable nutrient-dense foods that are going to help you heal your metabolism. And what they do is they create what's called satiety. So yeah, it's like if you're counting calories and points, you're already putting yourself behind the metabolic 8-ball. It's about giving your body the right nutrients. And when you create satiety, you're not going to be hungry. You're not going to be starving. In fact, we were having this conversation before we jumped on the podcast. I was thinking like, when's the last time that you were actually hangry? Because I know for me, and if you don't know what hangry is, it's when your blood sugar drops. It is a real phenomenon physiologically, and you become a complete a-hole because your blood sugars drop, you're starving because you don't have the ability to use food for fuel or tap into fat and glucose. So if you're not eating every 2 to 3 hours and your blood sugar drops, you become this hangry person. And I know for me, I used to live in the hangry world of blood sugar drops, eating back up again, back down again. I think I may have been a jerk a lot of times where I didn't want to be a jerk, but I haven't had that in forever. And I was asking the same question. When's the last time you were hangry?
Okay, I'm glad
Honestly.
you didn't ask the last time I was a jerk. So
Well, I was with you in Los Angeles this weekend. Should I point out I'm just kidding. You weren't a jerk.
no, I was not. So
No, you're not a jerk.
So yeah, you're right. I don't even remember last time to be quite honest with you. So yeah, well, I guess I'm hearing this correctly. If you're already a jerk before you
Oh
become
gosh,
hangry, it's not a good combination.
not good.
So that right there is that right there shows you why. Okay, here's why the diets don't work, and this is why you're stuck. You start asking better questions, and the question really to ask is, how do I heal my
Yes.
metabolism? We've given you the solution right there. The next thing is, people always ask us this as well. Well, what about what kind of exercise should I be doing? How many calories should I be burning? What's going to be the best exercise for me? And here's the disclaimer that we always give is we're not saying don't eat right, okay? Proper nutrition is for your health, okay? Diets, and proper diet is for your health. It's not for losing weight, okay?
Right.
You got to heal your metabolism. And we're also saying, we're not saying don't exercise. Exercise is for your health.
Yep.
We exercise on a daily basis. So you want to exercise. You just don't want to use the exercise to lose weight because exercise is not the key to losing weight.
It's not. If that's your strategy to lose weight is to diet and exercise, then you're going to be very frustrated, and you probably already are because you're going to hit that proverbial wall. Because diet, you don't typically have a diet or exercise problem. We can improve that. We do. We help you, but it's really simple. If that's just what you're thinking you're going to do, eat real food and move your body. It isn't any more simple than that. But for a lot of you're falling into that trap because you have tried that. It's the eat less, move more. So the eat less is the diet, and then the move more obviously is the exercise piece. And exercise is great for your health. Heck, Dr. Rob, you and I, we love to exercise. We love to eat real food. It's a part of our lifestyle. It should be a part of everybody's lifestyle. But if you're using it to lose weight, you are using it inappropriately. In fact, really from the weight loss side, when I was talking about, cutting your calories and how you lower your metabolism, think about this. So now you're pairing caloric restriction dieting with now moving more. So not only are you cutting your calories, you're now burning more calories with exercise. So if cutting calories lowered your metabolism, what do you think lowering them and burning more are going to do? It's a double whammy. So now your metabolism is crushed. And now we've seen this play out on national TV. Do you remember the show, Dr. Rob?
Absolutely. It's called The Biggest Loser. And in fact, now there is a Netflix show that you can watch talking about, what a sham that actually was. And it's only proving the point that we've been talking about for years, that moving more and eating less is the worst strategy that you could possibly use in order to be able to lose weight and then keep that off, because it's not addressing the cause being your metabolism.
You got it. So in fact, just from a scientific perspective, that's a lot of calories you're going to have to burn through exercise in order to even get a minimal result. I believe the science would suggest around 3,500 calories. You want to frame that up and give perspective to how much exercise that actually is, and be thinking about not only are you going to be miserable and hangry on a diet, think about adding this on top of it.
Yeah, it's about 70,000 steps. Okay, so 10,000 steps a day for a week, or 34 miles to lose just 1 pound, okay, of body fat. And that's only if you don't
Gosh.
eat,
Yeah.
because if you eat, you're putting more calories into the system. So I know in today's day and age, ain't nobody got time for that, number one, to do that.
Yeah.
And if you could be able to then lose the weight with a healthy metabolism and not be exercise dependent, that right there is called freedom. I know for myself, and not having to worry about getting all of my steps in while we were gone this last weekend in LA, and waking up going, oh my God, I got to exercise. I got to go to the gym. I didn't have those thoughts. Did I go walk? Yeah, because we're at the beach. Okay. So I love putting my feet in the sand. That's a whole nother conversation.
Yes.
and why that's important. However, I wasn't stressed out about that. I wasn't stressed out about what I was eating or what I wasn't
Right.
eating, other than making sure that I was just putting good nutrients into my body. But I wasn't doing it to reduce the amount of food that I was eating like
Yeah.
I would have done in the past before I was 38 years old. And you know what? I got on the scale this morning and I weighed the exact same thing as I did before we left. So, and I didn't have to worry about any of those things.
Yeah, the beauty and the luxury of a rock star metabolism. It is truly the game changer. Obviously, I didn't gain any weight, and but we didn't, we were intentional, but we weren't perfect. And that's part of having a great metabolism. You no longer have to be in calorie prison. You don't have to count every single morsel. You don't never have to count a point again. It goes back to, to lose weight with the traditional way of dieting, you do have to become more unhealthy because you think about starving your body of nutrients. And maybe if you're buying all those prepackaged foods that are low calorie, like these protein bars, these protein shakes, these foods that you throw in the microwave and heat up, what's even in this well, we know what's in it. It's fake food, it's processed, it's preserved, it isn't real food. So starving yourself of nutrients is the fastest way I know to completely wreck your metabolism. And if you've done that over and over and over and over the last 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years, you don't have an age problem. You got to start making different decisions. You got to start asking, how do I fix this metabolism thing versus trying to cut calories by eating less and moving more and living in a misery of a life. Because I can tell you right now, the thought of having to starve myself and walk 34 miles a day to lose weight doesn't sound very enticing.
Yeah, it was, speaking of not starving yourself, we definitely didn't starve ourselves on, I guess it was Sunday evening after the pre-screening. We had, what did we have? Like four steaks.
Well, we ordered 4 steaks. We didn't have 4 steaks. In fact, I don't know that we had any steak that night because all 4 of them came out well done on a beautiful bone-in ribeye. But yeah, we did order 4 steaks.
Gosh, that server, she was a sweetheart too.
I know.
But
Shout out to her. She
Yeah,
was
yeah,
sweet.
Caitlin. I'm not gonna say the restaurant because I don't want to say
No,
anything
but
negative
Caitlin, yeah.
about those. But her name is Caitlin, and she was great. However, the story was this: is they bring out this steak, and had ordered it medium rare, and it came out, and it was well done. Sent it back. They sent it back, and I think the next steak that they were preparing, she told us that they like dropped
I think
it
they
in
hit the floor.
hit the floor. They dropped it.
Yeah.
So that was steak number two. They did steak number three, and then it was under prepared, and then they sent it back, and it
Yeah.
came back, and then it was over prepared. So there was a total of four that still didn't get eaten, but nonetheless, we like steak, and I think that's a good segment into this next section
Yeah.
because this is also why if you are somebody who, I don't know, maybe you're doing some kind of a keto thing or carnivore and you're like, I'm just going to eat steak.
Right.
Here's the deal. Steak isn't the only thing that we ordered. You can have carbohydrates and still have a healthy metabolism. And so even if you're that person who's trying to eat clean and you've been doing keto or paleo, carnivore, or even the vegetarians who are out there and you're still staying stuck, there's a reason for that. And if you're not seeing the theme here, it's still going all the way back to what we just said, is you've got to heal your
Yeah.
metabolism. And I truly believe that, you know what? God created all these amazing things that we could be able to put into our bodies, like honey, for example,
Oh my
and
goodness.
maple syrup and
Yes.
fruit. All of these things are so good. You can eat those things and have a healthy metabolism.
Yeah, you don't have to crave really anything. But I'll give you an example here. If we took, we should probably do this.
Okay.
But if you took 10 people who had gone through our metabolism program, who had a rock star metabolism, and you took 10 people who had a bad metabolism, who struggled, who've yo-yo dieted and are addicted to exercise and just feel stuck, and you put both groups on a keto diet, I can promise you the group with the healthy metabolism is going to outperform the group with an unhealthy metabolism.
down.
Yet they ate the exact same food. If you could control that and have a proper, an independent variable and proper controls, because it's not always what you're eating. What does your body do with the food when you eat it? And that's a metabolic issue. I know for me, I can eat really almost 5,000 or more calories and I won't gain any weight. Yet for some of you, you can't even go over 800 to 1200 calories before you gain weight, because it's an inside out job. So that's why your metabolism is so critical. And it may be the piece why, if you've been cutting calories or trying to eat better or gone vegan or whatever you did, if you were putting that food into a bankrupt metabolism, you're just not going to get the result. So that's where, metabolism is the key, which is why you have to stop focusing on weight loss, start focusing on your metabolism.
Yeah, let's talk about that as well, because one of the things that happens, and that's a huge part of why we do our reset portion of our program, because our reset portion of the program is all about making sure that we have that our body is carb adapted.
Yes.
And you've got what's called metabolic flexibility, and that's how this happens. You want to talk a little bit about metabolic flexibility? And
Yeah,
what that
metabolic
means?
flexibility, real simple, not to be scientific, but it's called the Randall cycle, and it's basically lays out the best sources of fuel for your body. Carbohydrates and fat are really the preferred sources of fuel for your body. You can use protein, you can use alcohol, not advised. And protein, really, you don't want to break down protein for energy. You really want to get it from glucose, which is carbohydrates broken down to its most simplest form, and fatty acids, which are the fats. And so the Randall cycle would say, hey, protein is your foundation. Eating quality protein with your meals makes sense. We are huge advocates of that. But then where are you going to get your energy? You're either going to get it mostly from fat, or you're going to get it from sugar. Now, those energy sources will compete for dominance inside the cell. So you don't want to go high fat, high carb. You want to be able to eat more fat, lower carb, or lower fat, higher carb. But if the body doesn't have a strong metabolism, you're going to struggle to go in and out of fat and carb burning whenever you need it. And that's the beauty of a healthy metabolism, is you don't have to worry about any of that. Your body's going to do it. So that flexibility is the ability to eat fat. It is the ability to eat carbs and protein. You don't have to worry about it. But the keto world and the high carb diets and the low fat diets, they don't create metabolic flexibility. In fact, if you are been on a low carb, which is the most common diet people do, either keto, carnivore, low carb, you actually will create what's called physiological insulin resistance. So it's not pathological. It's actually an induced state where your body becomes insulin resistant. You can't get flexibility that way. So you may have lost weight cutting your carbs, but go eat half a banana and see what happens, versus getting to enjoy 100, 200 or more usable carbs like fruit and fruit juice and honey and maple syrup and properly prepared vegetables and potatoes and rice. You get the luxury of doing that, but only if you have a healthy metabolism.
Yeah, and as you were saying that, there's people who they don't understand that, because they're still looking at weight loss through the lens that we just got through talking about, whether it's diet or exercise. Yeah. I was watching something that popped up on my Instagram feed about this. It's like one of those health or fitness places that you only go in there for like 45 minutes, and it's like really high intensity. And it was having these people that had been there, and they had these signs up that's like, today is workout number 55.
Okay.
And with workout number 55, and you look at the person and you can see that they're visibly metabolically unhealthy.
Yeah.
Okay. And overweight.
Yeah.
And I would think that one of the bigger reasons why they started working out, and these workouts are at 6 a.m. in the morning and doing this every day. And they went there in order to be able to try to lose weight.
Yeah.
Now, granted, from a fitness perspective, yeah, do I want to be able to have the ability to do whatever it is that I want and be strong? Yeah, I want to be strong. But if I'm being really honest, I also want to, be able to take my shirt off and feel good about myself.
Right.
I want to look good in the mirror. I want to feel good in my own clothes. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking that that's probably the same thing that these people are thinking.
Have to be.
And they've just been taught that they've got to work out so hard in order to be able to deserve to be at a healthy weight. And this right here is the answer that those folks have been looking for. And if that is you, you know what the real problem is, and this is the last.
Hang on right there. Yeah. I want to. You may be taking us there, but let me comment, and I think this is important. Is with our thin method on how we heal the metabolism, there isn't any exercise involved.
Yeah.
Right. Because to your point, the gym person, you'll see them 6 months later, And a lot of times they don't look any different. They just look more adrenally fatigued with bags under their eyes, right? From all the 5 a.m. alarm
That was
clocks
me.
and the addiction to the treadmill. That's not helping you. Yeah. And listen, it was me as well, not necessarily to trying to resolve a weight issue, but it's important to know that you don't have an exercise problem. You need to move your body. We will help you, but you're never going to heal your metabolism by going back to the same level of thinking that got you where you are today. So for our thin method, it's been a life-saving program for so many people who are overweight, who've got joints that are inflamed. They don't have energy. They've got brain fog. And the thought of taking them through rigorous exercise to somehow lose a few pounds, it's already defeating right out of the gate. So you don't have to exercise to heal your metabolism. In fact, we would say exercise can be a stress. And the way we control the environment with our thin method, we're strategically targeting certain hormetic short-term stresses that you can adapt to, and exercise is not one of those. So I just want to make sure we got clear there, because I think that for a lot of people, the thought of doing another program, they're thinking, well, that just sounds really hard because I just don't want to exercise that much.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's important to understand that going through that model is we just also know that that's not something that's sustainable long term. There's going to come a day when you don't make it to the gym at 6 a.m. and then that becomes another day and another day and another day, and so it's not sustainable. It's just not the way to heal your metabolism. So I think that's one of the reasons why even next week in our show we're gonna talk about how to be able to overcome your willpower, because what do we know about willpower?
Well, we know this, it will let you down, guaranteed.
Yeah, and that's important, I think, because that's one of the fears as well of people who are coming into our program and have never done the thin method, is they're afraid that they're going to have to stop eating all the foods that they love, or they're going to have to be ultra disciplined or have a ton of willpower. And we're going to show you really our magic and our superpower and how it is that we help people to overcome that, because that's simply just a story that you've been telling yourself that is not true. It's not about your willpower. It is about your metabolism. So that's a real problem right there. And then the last segment today is really just letting you know that it isn't your fault. Okay. The real problem is a broken metabolism, and it can be healed. We talked about that.
Well, I would say this, we've done, how many lectures have we done over the years with, I don't know, over 10,000 for sure. But I remember we were in one room years ago. You know where I'm going with this, don't you? Yeah. You know me too well. I think you know me better than I know me. Oh my God. That's the benefits of having a best friend for 20 something years.
Each other's sentences.
Exactly. So, but we were in a room and we were talking about metabolism, and it just felt in that room like, hey guys, just give yourself a break, take a deep breath in. And we told everybody to say, hey, listen, say out loud, it's not my fault. All right. And probably 90% of the room, they said, it's not my fault. But this one lady wouldn't say it. And I looked over at her and I was like, all right, you need to give yourself a break and say this. She goes, no, trust me, it is 100% my fault. And I'm like, okay, I love not being a victim. I love this. I said, maybe it's 97% your fault. The point we're making is it's not your fault if you've never known that there was anything you could do about your metabolism, because it wasn't for a lack of trying. You're probably not listening to this podcast if you're not trying and putting time and money and energy into trying to find a solution. But it's not your fault, because if you've never healed your metabolism, you're beating your head against the wall. Now, if you listen to this podcast, and we've told you there is a better way and you can heal your metabolism, and you still choose to diet and exercise, okay, now it's your fault.
It is. And so here's the reality, is that if you're trying to use diet and exercise, it's like the proverbial trying to beat a square peg into a round hole. And here's the problem in the diet and exercise world, if that's been your mindset, and it is hard. And I get it, because I had been that person. It's hard to really switch that mindset, because you always want to go into the diet part every single time that you go into the grocery store. And what you're doing is now you're trying to beat that square peg into a round hole. And then what are they really doing? Instead of getting a round peg, what are they doing?
Yeah, instead of changing your strategy, you keep beating it with the hammer. The hammer breaks, and then you go buy another hammer. And you keep beating
another diet.
The same thing over and over again. Yeah, it's hammer after hammer after hammer, diet after diet after diet, versus rearranging the puzzle there, so where now the strategy is not to force something into submission or beat it into submission, which I'm really good at, as hard-headed as I can be, but it's really setting it up for success, where the round peg in the round hole, that is the metabolic play.
Yeah, and that's why I love even right now live. We've got several of our VIP members of our program who are watching live, and just seeing these people and seeing people that have done the program and lost 22 pounds in 5 weeks and 25 pounds in 5 weeks, and even up to 40 pounds in 5 weeks with the folks that are on right now. It's fun to be able to see that, but what I love more than the weight loss related wins are the non-weight loss related wins, like the program that we were just the talk that we were just doing a few weeks ago in Indianapolis, and one of our clients that was there said, hey, you know what, this right here helped me to be able to improve myself, mind, body, and spirit. And so it was amazing to be able to see that. And that's what we always say, is that where we are a metabolic company and we are helping people to heal their metabolism, that truly for us is a Trojan horse. Our goal is to see people healed, mind, body, and spirit. That really is who it is that we are. And it's cool to be able to see the impact that what we do does on people. And it's not just us that's doing this. It's our coaches.
Yeah.
Our coaches are unbelievable in the way they help to guide people through this program, and the way they not just help guide people, the way they love people is truly remarkable. As we literally have a family in a community of people, which I love, which is that's ultimately what they showed through all the studies with the blue zones that you always hear us talk about, was the one common thread between all these people that were centenarians or living to be 100 and over 100 is they had a community of like-minded people who were loving on each other, who were praying for each other, who were supporting each other, who were building each other up. And that is, I think, one of the reasons why we even not just love our community, but why we also are involved with other communities of like-minded individuals. Like, we got to be able to see a lot of these folks who were in that your second 50 movie, who are friends of ours, because we lift each other up, and that community is so important. So,
and that community is huge because, and I think that's been one of the keys to our success, not only metabolically, but just in life. And a lot of you who've had successes is sometimes you could be in the wrong room.
yeah.
And a lot of times you end up in a room of people who just accept you. And who doesn't want to feel accepted? Heck, that's a great thing. But I think the next level is to be in a room of people who actually not only accept you, but they believe in you, right? And they're not going to let you cut corners. They're not going to let you lie to yourself and say things that are ridiculous that you've believed that aren't true, all these disqualifiers that you've believed. They're going to hold you accountable because they see that there's so much greatness in you and you have so much potential to do so many things in life. So acceptance is great, but our community really is a group of people that believe in each other and hold each other accountable and really root for them and want to see their best version be revealed.
And it's always fun to see new faces in this as well. New members here. Welcome to the family for those of you who are new. So here's the thing, if you're listening to this podcast today and you are that person who's feeling stuck or tired, you're frustrated, and nothing's been working, you know what? It's time to stop blaming yourself. And like we said earlier, it isn't your fault. You need to start healing your metabolism. And how can somebody start with that process?
Well, that's easy. You just go to metabolismscore.com. That's the easiest step. Go there, take the free quiz. It's going to show you where your metabolism ranks and where you're at. And then you're going to have action steps on how to, find out, what do I do now? Where do I go? We would be honored to help guide you and lead you.
Yeah, absolutely. So the truth is, it's not your diet, it's not your gym or lack of getting into the gym, or even your age or genetics. It is your metabolism, and it can be healed.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in. We love you guys. Don't forget, follow us on Instagram. That's at the H2, the number 2 life, the H2 life. Follow, share this episode. Heck, if you're on the Apple podcast, give us a 5-star. Get this out. Let's help more people. We love you guys. We can't wait to be back with you next week.
See you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Happy Healthy Life podcast. If you enjoy the show, make sure to follow them on Instagram at the H2 Life or on YouTube and Facebook at the Happy Healthy Guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, and review the show wherever you listen to podcasts.